Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lauren's Story. I apologize for not being able to do this 2 weeks ago. We've had some personal crises and dealing with some real estate stuff and some other things, and so I had to postpone. But it's good to be back. Um, we've already got enough people on here, I think, that we can kind of just start diving into this. Can everybody hear me? I just want to make sure that we're all good. Just give me the thumbs up if audio and video and all those things are working great and we're all good. Wonderful. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Again, there's a lot just happening on our side of things. We've got a lot going on, as you may know. We have a couple of things that we're going to be talking about on this Lauren Story. I'll just kind of give you the bullet points, and so you can prepare your questions if you haven't already. I'll give you a little update on where we are on release, right? So we've been hard at work, kind of polishing, still doing some stuff, and then there's also some back end stuff that we'll talk about, and what's really kind of holding everything up, if you will, from you guys being able to raise your dragons. And then I want to get into kind of the map, the locations, the world. There were some questions that were being talked about. How big is the map? What does it look like from an open world standpoint? And I'm so excited that you guys are really excited about that sort of exploratory components of it, because it's interesting when we talk about some of the things that are really catching on with audiences, what happened at Level Up. Most people spent time with the dragon in the space through the pass-through, and it kind of, nobody really talked about the VR components. And so this will be an interesting one, because I do think that the way that technology is going, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people to have their personal dragon connected to the larger world, like we're going to see. And we've talked about a little bit, if you haven't heard about it, that personal AI component, right? Because we also know that there's a bunch of you that are very interested in having your dragon speak to you. And these are all things that we don't necessarily want to stop that from happening. If you want to have Doug from Up, with your dragon and be able to interact with it, and then have that kind of tied in to the entire technology stack, we want to make that possible. We want to make that roadmap possible. So, lot to unpack in those conversations. Obviously this kind of stuff takes time. This is this project, for those of you who've been following us for the 4 or 5 years that we've been going on this thing, it just continues to expand. And not that we're chasing the expansion right now as much as we're really focused on that next phase. And that's what's really important. So thanks for being here, and let's kind of just dive into it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in. I'll be looking at the chat. I've got it pulled up here, so I'll be able to go through this, hopefully in real time. Keep it nice and snappy. Just kind of move along. I've got some pictures and some images to show you guys, because I know that you guys like that, and I always like to use the Lauren Story as an opportunity for those that join me in this conversation to see some things that they maybe haven't seen before. So here we go. Let's kind of start off on the timelines, right where we are. A quick update on everything is we have next week, officially, we are going to start publishing the marketing version of the app. Now, what that means, the Android and the iOS. So we've done a couple of things. We've updated and this is why it was taking a little bit long, because when we were looking at the analytics during the beta test, we noticed that there was a couple of things. One, when you were getting prompt by the push notifications, you would come back to the experience. However, the push notification was actually only scheduled to happen like within a minute or two after you closed the app. And so that was kind of a disingenuous sort of prompt, if you will. We've got some more updates on that, including like whether or not your dragon is hot, whether or not your dragon's cold, and the icons in the backgrounds that actually showcase, oh, your dragon woke up or your dragon fell asleep, as well as your dragon's hot or cold, so that you can have like a little bit more direct response as far as what's happening with the dragon, instead of out opening the app and then seeing, oh, I got a notification and it's telling me that something's wrong, but really updating those push notifications so that you can have a more direct sort of feedback link about what's going on, and then whether or not you want to open the app and go take care of something. But in addition to that, because we're still in this trial and error phase, if you will, with beta testing, and I don't want to say that we're going to do another beta test because we're really not planning on it. We are planning on at least letting you guys reset the age of your dragon until we go full time. Not full time, I'm sorry, until we actually launch the experience for you to start raising your dragon with consequence, right? This will be a good chance for you guys to really kind of understand and get into those mechanics, because there are things, we've talked about this before, there are things that are happening right now that are going to be reflective in what happens down the road. And we've got a lot of our team. I'm just going to shout out a couple of people, because be nice to them in the Discord channel. They're working hard. One, all of our mods, right? Two, like Dice and Dragon Seer, they've been working extraordinary hand in glove with what we're doing, and so that we can hopefully get a good manual out and together, so that you have at least some check marks and some roadmaps to be able to look at, to understand, oh, I want it to be a fire breather. Oh, I'm hoping it's a female, or I can raise it to be a female or a male, or I want it to be an altitude flyer. And what do all those classes of dragon, like that elite class going down that road, what is the difficulty? What is the probability? Just kind of some things that you might want to look at when you're formulating the type of dragon that you want to have. But then again, in addition to, that's kind of like how the interactive pieces come together, as well as the VR components, but not necessarily as much as that if you use this as a personal companion. Because if you already look at the way the AI is going, and again, I'm just going to touch on this again, personal AI is very much going to be a thing, probably here in the next 6 months, if not some of you are already using it today. And we plan to hope enable you to be able to use your dragon for that, because we think that there's a much stronger connection and opportunity when you're emotionally attached. And that's the whole goal, as you guys know. So I'm gonna take a pause here, because Johnny's, sadly my dragon passed from too much heat in the beta. I had Android. Don't worry. I think everyone at some point has already killed their dragon or hatched their dragon, or both, even in the same session. But those are the types of things that we've been lining out, because this leads me into the next conversation about where we are. So in addition to some of those things that we're putting in the app, including some story and like background about the Mountain Skull, background about the lore and story, the Dragon Federation, the Dragon Realm. So you'll have that in the app, right? We don't have any information pages in there right now, but those are all being put in so that we can have that on this marketing launch. Second, it really is for us. And we've been having conversations with AWS. We're having some more conversations with some more game support services, Google Games, some other things like that, because the back-end perpetual world, we really dove into our game design document. And I say game design document because there's a lot of things that are obviously interacting when we look at all the things that you can do with your dragon. And we have to make sure that that foundation is built accordingly so that we can just expand it. Because if we get a year down the road and we forgot something, it's one of those put it on hold, tear it down, rebuild it. Just because if we're not spinning up servers properly, because when we look at the multiplayer, we haven't anticipated that we're going to take on as many players as we have, and that we can scale up and down servers, as well as being able to have that local. So when we do the 2-person or like the local servers, just making sure that our costs are scaling associative with the performance, the play, the way that you guys are going to be interacting. It's extraordinarily important. And not just that, but we have an entire inventory system, the Dragon ownership system. We might have preemptively launched the clone and the pygmy a little early, but because we just realized when we looked at like the unlimited versus the limited dragons, we're like, oh, we don't need dragon codes. And all of a sudden, when we started getting the orders, we're like, no, we do need dragon codes, because the pygmy can still be sold, and technically so can the clone dragons. And so we just have to make sure that that stuff is tracked, locked to the player, but we still have to parse the data, because there's so many protection and privacy laws that we have to come in contact with, especially with the way that we're going to be collecting data. We're trying to protect you guys as much as possible, and all of those types of things, right? So this type of stuff creates a huge bottleneck, that we just have to make sure that we're sorting that accordingly. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we're still planning, just to be clear, we're still planning on launching this year. But the dates on that are a little bit iffy, just because as we're diving into the back-end systems in the perpetual world, we just have to make sure that they're all up and running and functional. So there may be some stuff that comes down the pike here in the next month or two that we might just be testing a couple of people with, just to make sure, scaling some stuff, inviting some people to an online party to seeing what our server spin up stuff looks like, that kind of thing. But other than that, that's kind of really what we've been spending our time and energy on, just because once we start going, it will be detrimental for us to have to press pause and kind of put that back into a container. And that's what we're trying to avoid, with everything. So when you look at the full build stuff, just to kind of give you a quick update, I know it's been a long time, but when we look at the first 3 years of this project, we actually had to completely rebuild everything. Not only did we move from Unity to Unreal the first time, for those of you that were with us, but we also had to go from, we were looking at Vives, right? We had to go and switch to the Oculus, and then performance, and now going through the back end, because we had our original databases set up in a way that wasn't really going to matter. We were using local servers and testing that. But it's, we've got a lot more people than we did back then, and we've been moving forward. So we're just taking our care. We're taking the proper steps, the proper care, to make sure that we're not going to get stuck. And that's really the goal with that. On the VR side, or the XR side, we'll just call it XR at this point in time, because for those of you that have had an opportunity to submit if you have an Oculus 3 or even possibly a 2, please, by the way, chat in Discord if you did submit an Oculus that's a 2. I would like to know. I have one, and I haven't loaded it on there, just because the 3's just a better experience, and I'm just being a baby. But if you've done it, I really want to know how that experience went for you, and just kind of some thoughts and insights. But the Oculus build on the VR side, it's so we could be publishing what we already have in there for those that you have been testing the first night demo. But we've been adding some stuff. one of the things that we're adding is a double cinematic end. So that you still have, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there are some stuff that happens toward the end. You might have heard people talking about it. We're doing another one that's a little bit more less, I don't want to say less terrifying, because I love the reactions for it, especially again, I'm not going to give anybody spoilers away, but like something that's a little bit more inspirational than it is less terrifying. I'll just say that we are adding one of the things that was a feedback from Oculus on this, and we wanted to be really careful about that, because I forget when we are going to launch something, at least even in a demo phase, so that people can start coming to the platform, seeing what we're doing, be a part of this project, and get it without like going to Facebook or some of the other social medias, but like downloading stuff directly from the store. They may not know anything about what Dragon Federation is. No, what are the eggs? How many breeds? All of this stuff. So we are updating the website so that we can maintain that with what's going to be happening inside the experience. And we're putting in, a little hatch cinematic that has some more integrated binding sequences, so that you can kind of get a little bit more, depending on where your knowledge base is. You don't have to be we'll just call it the Dragon Federation file. I'm used to the cinephile, but like the Dragon of, I don't want to say that because then it just sounds gross. But the somebody that's got some tremendous knowledge on our project, right? And we have to do that, kind of close case it for both the people that do and don't have eggs in VR, as well as do and don't have eggs on the Android. And so that's one of the things that we're doing, because the new builds that we do have allow you to take your Dragon back into AR and vice versa. And I say AR, but when we just say the pass through, so that you can have your Dragon in your space, as well as open up a portal and go back into the Dragon realm. So it's just really important for that part of the roadmap. And I'd like to be moving faster than we are, but we're just being really careful right now, because all of our funds that we were given was to kind of get this first product out of the way. And now we're in the second phase of this to get those launched and on there. And then we're kind of gonna go full steam with bringing more people to the platform, and start having a features and progress updates. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And we still plan on, in the next couple of months here, to have a lot more unveiling with it, because we are working on multiple areas inside the VR map. Ironically, that's more of the effort, if you will, because obviously when you're world creating, you have to create the entire world from scratch. But it's interesting because, and you know what? I haven't said this, but I'll just actually fire this off. If you guys also have an Oculus 3 and you want to see the AR side of it, right, in your house, I have an early one that is also up on Oculus that I can share with you. So if you want to get in touch with the mods, they're going to hate me for this because I didn't even say this, but I can get your email, and I'll probably just take the emails that I already have and invite all of you guys that are already on the first night demo to be able to take a look at the AR version of it, because it's extraordinarily powerful, just being in your own house and seeing your Dragon hanging out with you. Obviously, when it gets bigger, most of us don't have an airplane hangar to hang out with our Dragon, but I'm sure that y'all will eventually. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Let's see here. So let's see. Michael Spratt's asking, will there be indicators on the app to show if the baby likes or dislikes the noise levels around it? So we, with the AI integration, I will just let everybody know this. We're not going to have any understanding of what your Dragon likes or dislikes, especially in the early phases. What it is going to be an aggregate sort of like, we're going to collect the data. And then at hatch, we're hoping to use that data. And this is where we're testing some things right now to make sure that we have enough data points to be able to train the AI properly. But based on that, your dragon you're not going to understand likes and dislikes until it hatches. So it's one of those things, again, it's looking at long-term strategy, right? I say that just because it's the way that the system's set up, and it's the way that we thought that this is kind of the best way to approach this. Again, being emotionally attached to something, understanding that we're not like a standard game mechanic, even though, again, on the VR, we had to, I'll just share this anecdotally because I don't think I've shared it anywhere else. We had to put in a gamer version, and this is, well, no, I think I have explained this. Like the Pygmy was kind of like the more, I don't want to say manic or ADD focused, but the gamer focused, right? Somebody that wanted something a little bit more instant results versus like the more realistic versions. Just because of what some of the expectations were. For those of you that have gone through it, I don't know if I don't even think we have it available where you can select right now in advanced or realistic mode versus a simplistic mode. But I'd also love to hear in some feedback, some comments. If you ever got stuck, first trying to figure out what are the next phases to get your dragon to get to, additional moods and move throughout that process in the experience, because that's a good one. Emmanuel sounds awesome. Great. Love that. You want AES 256 encryption. I don't know that one. Nobody's asked me that question yet. So we are going to be, as far as like the privacy and that type of thing, we are going to be going through that. And honestly, they're not necessarily presenting anything to me. It's just like the best practices for what we need to do on the encryption side of things. Hatch our eggs. I did the testing, but I don't know if we are going to start the process altogether or when it launches. Yeah, so when will you be able to hatch our eggs? Again, we're still planning on this year. Just again, if you missed that before, we are planning on this year. And like I said, we are in the new version of the app, we are going to be having a reset button that will allow you to restart the experience. So if something happened or you didn't like it, you can actually clear the cache in your database to be able to try again. This is kind of the benefit of what you're getting at this point, because you'll be able to do kind of like a trial basis of what's working for you, what's not working for you, how much time you need to spend, how much time you think you need to spend before you get to do it. Whereas the rest of the world is not going to have that information unless you guys decide to publish it, right? Because we're not going to publish that. I never got an email to test on the 2. If you gave me your email, Severus, then it should have been in there. If it didn't show up, then we might have to do some troubleshooting. So if you have some patience, we can take a look at that from a ticket standpoint. Let's see. Not dropped yet. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, we got some other people that are already responding to it. Let's see. Is this game going to be free or pay? So, funny question there, United Kingdom, because the dragons cost money, right? So you still get the worlds, the apps, and everything else to be able to raise your dragon to support it, but the dragons do cost money. We are having a tiered monthly or stabling cost with that, because we are already anticipating, and by just so that everybody knows, if you're very familiar with our project, if you're not, let me just give you a quick update. If you can see the way that we've kind of rewarded our early backers on this, there's a lot of grandfathering into a lot of scenarios when we introduce new things and when we find out new things. And so when we look at the stabling costs, we know that there's going to be server costs, there's going to be storage costs, there's going to be bandwidth costs. And because we are training the AIs specifically on your data, that means that it's also going to be a part of that. Whereas most of these games already are just bringing an AI that may or may not have an AI, but like if they are using AI, they've already got the data. And the data is one of the most expensive things, because if we are collecting sound files and possibly video, I'm not saying that we're going to even do that because we didn't want to touch it because of the size of the files. Those are just some of the costs. And we knew that from day one. And that's why when you saw the stabling fees that we had that. But that does come with upgrades. It does come with like access to be able to customize your like your stable or your home, even like the opportunities to get other type of aesthetic things within the experience itself. So just kind of reiterating that. Let's see. Take a privacy top priority. Adoption added to hold your baby. Yeah, so holding your dragon, that's one of the bigger things that we are working on right now. One of the things that we've already been seeing right now is that the dragon is starting to interact with the space. So if you have experienced it, like the dragon will now knock into chairs can fall over or be moved, kind of making that experience more interactive. The map, we had some bugs with that where like the dragon was getting stuck. We've cleaned up a lot of that stuff, so the dragon can go upstairs on its own. It can use your bed, all of those types of things. But you'd be surprised at how hard it is to make being able to pick up the dragon, and then the physics and the colliders and the animations that are all tied with that, because depending on how you like, we definitely have a vision for that. But it is something that nobody's been able to do. Right? Like most of the time, you're not allowed to pick up another character. And if you are, actually, somebody point out to me if anybody's been able to pick up a character in VR more so than just like a flat plane. Because there are certain things that we have been able to do, like with the ball, the syringe, and some of the other objects that are in the scene. We have been able to pick up the dragon, but with our hands, it is one of the harder things to do, but it is something that we've been talking about and working on since day one of this. So I'll just share that with you. No, this is great. This is great to have this kind of conversation. And again, like we're just moving on this stuff, and over the course of the next couple of weeks, we're going to be hitting send and moving everything out of the alpha, which is in the VR, and which is in the beta on the App Store, and we're going to be publishing. So the apps will be very, very visible, and you will be able to download them without actually having an email link to be able to do it. And then we're just going to continue upgrading the software and moving toward that ultimate goal as we're testing out new pieces of this. So yeah, that's really the goal. But as is everything that I've come to learn, it is way slower than I've ever wanted it to be. So if I had it my way, we would have been launched a long time ago. But unfortunately, my way has not been the gold standard on this, other than the fact that we're at least getting the world, the mechanics, and some of the other things lined out to be able to meet that satisfaction, if you will. So without further ado on that, what I'm going to do is I am going to open up and showcase some of the stuff with the map, because that was where a lot of the conversation went to. And I'm just clearing out my screen because there's no reason for you guys to see all this stuff. I might have to just pull up images and drop them out just because of the way that it's done. But this map, I don't want to say the good thing, some of the updates that we are doing in VR will include this. We already have what is called an HDRI that's based on this. And so the map that's currently in there that you're seeing was just more of a scenic sort of look through, not necessarily what we're actually going to be building. The stable is, right? So the house that's inside there, the dragon cave and all that stuff, that is the place that we call it the stables. That will be your home. you guys will each be assigned one of those if you have a dragon egg, so that will come with it. And then that will also be able to be customizable. I don't know if that will be on day one, but we will see. Okay, I am going to start with this video. Now, I apologize for this because it's a little bit the guys were doing it in software, if you will. And so it might be a little shaky, but I'll keep it slowed down. Can you guys see this? Go ahead and give a thumbs up or a heart if you can see the image that we have up there right now. Okay, good. We got some heart action, so you guys can see this. So I'll just kind of play this through once, talk you through it. Mind you, the perspective that we're looking through right now is the perspective from your stable, from the I call it the Dragon Cave or the Dragon Garage, if you've seen that. But it's a 360-degree map, so there's a lot of this that you won't be able to see until you actually get outside of your Dragon Cave, if you will. Let me just, here we go. We'll just play it. Don't get sick. So you can kind of see these walled facades here, which is also where the dragon stables are. And man, this guy is manic. I'm going to slow him down. Okay. Let's go back to this area so that we can kind of talk about this. So this is based, what this is you're looking out, you can kind of see, this is a crude version of it. This is all going to be updated because we're a little bit more high tech than this. But this is kind of like a tram or a shuttle. So inside the main map, primary locomotion, especially because we're dealing with the quest in the beginning of this, you're going to be jumping on a shuttle, which is going to take you to your friend's house or to a couple of the other locations. These are also early sort of concept or crude, from the more sense that from those of you, I'll show you some more integrated photos of this. But you know, we call it a tech naturalism. So a lot of these buildings and facades are actually going to be a lot more embedded in the landscape than what you're seeing here. But this is what we're kind of showing here is just the idea that we're up in basically what is called a cirque inside the mountains, because we are up in the Mountain Skull region, right? You can see the high peaks, beaches here, the water. There is going to be a glacier on here for those that of you have seen the habitats for the Mountain Skull. So this is, you know, but this will be the map that you'll be able to go to. And in this map, let me just kind of go to, I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to pull up another image real quick. Okay. So if you haven't seen this, this was one of the original renders that we did of what we wanted the map to look like. So you can start to see these, if you guys can all see this, this is what you're seeing from all these callouts are basically locations in which you'll be able to go to, right? And we plan on this starting with the house or the stable, because your dragon's not necessarily going to be like super mobile in the beginning. It's not as imperative for you to leave these areas, but we have a rollout with this, and we'll probably publish what that's going to look like. But the second thing that's going to be available that we plan on doing is the shuttle, and the shuttle, because we want to test very early on some of the multiplayer aspects. And so getting on the shuttle, and I actually need to bring up a shuttle image because I just want to show you. I have a drawing that was put together, a concept rendering that was done of the shuttle. It's going to be really cool. It will have a little place for your dragon to be able to ride along and those types of things. But the way that the shuttle is designed, for those of you that have seen Minority Report, it's one of the things that, like, you've got the personal shuttle that will come and dock at your place, right? And within that, the gauntlets on your hands will be able to unlock the keys to be able to kind of open up the ray shield that allows you to get to your place. Now, we do plan on having those keys available for friends and some other community members as you've kind of developed those relationships and you need somebody to watch your dragon or those types of things. You'll be able to give them keys to be able to get into your place or vice versa. But so you can see that I'll just kind of go through each one of these locations and kind of share with you, because this main map, this is really kind of the first, this is the protected zone, right? So when you hear about it's going to be really hard to hurt your dragon, this is the protected zone. So as long as you're here, there's nothing bad that's going to happen to you, right? Sure, there's going to be neglect because some of you will be, won't be able to be there all the time for your dragon and those types of things. But don't worry, we've got your dragon covered. That's what the stabling fee does. It allows you so that your dragon does not suffer in that way. But one of the perks of that. 1 second, I gotta go to my concept images. I don't think I pulled this one up either. Yeah, go ahead and answer some questions while I'm pulling this up. I just shot myself in the foot by not having it already, so I apologize. This was the one that I liked the most. So nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so while we're on the subject of that, let me just kind of describe to you the areas. And we'll kind of move through this because we are already getting low on time. But, okay, so the bazaar. This is obviously the marketplace. There will be options to be able to go in there, buy dragons, trade goods, services, sell your dragon if you need to. All of those types of things will be happening at the marketplace. This will also be a place that we will be able to have. What we're hoping to do there is launch like new dragon breeds to bring them into the amphitheater. To have kind of some stuff that's set up so that we can do some live events and some other things like that in world. The nursery is an important piece of this. It's where your baby dragon can go get mama time and sibling time if you haven't made the connections with other players or you don't want to. I'm going to just kind of show this on another screen because I have a way better image of that, the nursery. So this is kind of a more integrated approach so that you can kind of see what our more style, like I said, that tech naturalism when we look at this. So it's a completely covered space with so they can fly around, they can move up levels, they can do other things like that. But several of these, because different dragons will require different nurseries, and we plan on having a mama dragon in these types of things. So it's very much surrounded by the elements, that type of thing. And I'm just going to keep moving through this stuff. So you don't really need to see a picture of like the quarry or the forest. If you know what a rock grotto looks like, then good on you. That's what the world looks like, right? That's going to be a place that you're going to be able to obviously mine minerals so that you can start to progress your dragon from the way that you want to progress it as a class. and also how it will hone its own sort of thing. We are integrating binding very much into this world, so the way that binding will be working is it will affect everything from recipes to even the ability for your dragon to detect certain resources, as well as kind of special abilities and things like that. Because what would a world with dragons be if you didn't have any really integrated magic system? And I can't wait to even try some of it when you guys try out the new piece of this, because we've got some stuff that's really cool, that's being integrated really cool for that. But yeah, just bringing it back to here so you can kind of see the stables. We've seen that they're all like condominiums carved out of the hillside, right? The forest is back in that area. The quarry is back in that area. You've got the nursery, which we just showed you. You got the bazaar and the Hall of Records. This is actually hidden by the water. For those of you that know the backstory of Dragon Federation, or the Federation of Dragons, I probably say, there will be some. If we haven't published the blog post on it yet, we've got a really cool story about one of the first and only Altum writers. But you'll be able to discover stories like that will also help you uncover some secret things. And we're going to have, I don't want to give the spoil away, because we're not going to have all the rooms which are going to be in the Hall of Records, but I can show you this just because why not? It's just fun. This stuff is just fun. World building's so fun, right? Because it's a ruin. You've got this sort of this big underground mine, if you will, of resources and books and knowledge that has just been preserved. And I kind of want to show this just because it's super fun. Why not? Let's do it. But even inside the library, or the Hall of Records, if you will, I am going to, where is it? Like ancient scrolls, some of the things that are available, and that will all be there. I'm just going to pull this up. He did not start it at the right place, and I didn't have it ready. But we're taking some example from Elden Ring, for those of you guys that are familiar with that. Let me kind of just share with you. We don't need to. I'll scrub through it real quick so that we don't have to spend too much time on this. I'm just trying to go as fast. Basically, have it on your app, so your mobile app. So that means you can go into the world, you can get some knowledge, or even share with some knowledge for some people, depending on their level of classes. And then they would be able to get those books, those knowledge pieces that you have access to. If they don't have keys, or they're not the right level of writer, then you will be blocked, so you can't share other records with somebody that doesn't have it. And we'll probably have to encrypt it so you can't actually publish it either. But see the back end stuff, I just thought of that. But yeah, just kind of going down this, because we're going to have, if you think about this long descent into, I don't want to say a netherworld, but into the ancient sort of, well, to be quite honest, the protection keep of the Federation of Dragons. And there's some places down in here, right, that are going to be unlocked rooms or access rooms, depending on your own sort of progression, that you're going to be able to access for practice. We do plan on having, I'll just kind of give you, I'll share some thoughts with you on this. Like a biopsy lab, an alchemy lab, a binding dojo, the knowledge center, and even a hat shrine. And some of these places are like really spiritual, very, you might only be able to access them once, and other things like that. But, again, it's like a whole nother world down in here, which will just kind of drive some stuff. Let's see. I'm gonna pull that off just because it's mucking up my stream. Kind of show you like a concept of the shuttle. So the shuttle is designed, this one is obviously a passenger, like a multi-passenger, and it's going to be a little bit more specific, but you can see that the whole thing's surrounded by windows because we do plan on having, if you think about it from a Harry Potter standpoint, the idea that you would go to like a shuttle station, even when the technology allows us to get there, it's still a ways off. But to be able to walk out, imagine for a second that you're in a headset and you walk outside your front door, and you've got that area all set up, and all of a sudden a train, basically comes in and picks you up at the outside of your house, and then all of a sudden it goes through, and it's basically peeling back a layer of the realm, and you go into the Dragon Realm, and you show up into this place from these sort of access portals, if you will. But you can see that it's got a lot of different windows around it, as well as screens and interactive elements, because as you're moving around, talking with people, being able to pull up like the different sort of knowledge bases, or game AI to understand what you're supposed to do next, how you're supposed to do it, if that's what you're there for, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all just raising dragons, but this is just us having a tremendous amount of fun with it, because what good is it having a dragon if you're not just going to be able to have the ability to have a crazy amount of fun? So let's see. Let me just double check on this to make sure that. But yeah, I think that will kind of do it. I'm going to go back up to this main map again, because so when you look at this is really what we plan on you being able to experience within the first year. Now, moving around to this stuff, collecting this stuff, there will be, and I'll say this reluctantly, we are planning on putting a carrot or a tempting prize, if you will, that's outside of the main map. Whether it's a resource, whether it's something else, that the risk is extraordinarily high. It's almost a near impassable task, but we know how a lot of you like to gamble. And so, if for those of you that know the lore, you understand that the world is extraordinarily hostile. And so if you leave the protected areas, that you could be put into great risk. And there will be an element that we plan on putting in there, as well as a bunch of other secrets and kind of Easter eggs. I'm not going to talk about them here because you know me. But this is kind of a really good uncovering of what you guys can see that we haven't shared a whole lot about. And that's just because we're still working fast and hard and doing the things that we need to, and we don't want anybody else to come out and even try and copy us in the slightest. But yeah, this is kind of one of those big chunks. And again, designing the world from the 3D standpoint and building this stuff it takes time. It's hard, but we do have a good roadmap that we should be able to have this within the first year. And we'll be rolling these out. The good thing is this is what's going to be super fun about this project. The way that we've designed it is that we don't have to release it all at once. The spoilers don't come all at once. Somebody doesn't come and speed run this thing and then change all of this right away. What happens is like over time, it continues to evolve and continues to change. And when you actually start to venture out in the world, even beyond this main map, there will be opportunities to build your own areas. That's the goal and the plan with all of this. And so, it's just like your dragon will continue to age and get older, and you'll still be able to build and change with the world. I will let you guys know this as well. Resources are finite, similar how they are on Earth, right? We're not going to be an endless supply of like, hey, I can just go spam this thing. If you clear cut a forest, it's not going to grow back. There's going to be some issues with that, and we'll talk about some of the other things like down the road about what that means. And like, even if we got players that are going out there and clear cutting stuff, then we're going to have licenses or permits to get certain things, and depending on the type of role that you're going to be, instead of a hoarder, other types of things, just to make the world a better place. But again, just sharing some thoughts with you guys. Wanted to give this. I hope this is a good insight for what we have planned, so that you guys can, wet your beaks on what you want to do next and what's going on there. I know that Dice has started sharing some information on the pygmies. There's been a lot of questions on the colors. We've got some updates for that. And yes, you will be able to as well. I will plug this on the next release of the VR. You will be able to pick your color of dragon, whether you're able to do it at the beginning or whether you're able to do it at the end. That's still a choice, just because, again, people that are coming into the experience that have never done it before, if you are loading up your dragon, and we have that dragon code available at the beginning of the experience, then it will load up that color. But there's just a lot, and it's all on the roadmap, and we'll be able to do that. But yeah, with that being said, let me just kind of go through this really quick, see if there's any questions that I missed. It looks like our moderators have been doing a good job about like chiming in this. The experience being kitted out for Quest 3 graphics capabilities %. Yeah, but so with the Quest 3, I will remind you guys that because we are developing in the OpenXR platform, obviously we have to change the optimization levels, and like what was asked, I think, with the United Kingdom, like the 4K availability. So any of the tethered headsets, or some of the higher end headsets, will be able to run a more integrated experience. And even with the Apple Vision Pro, I don't know if anybody here has that, but we have that on our roadmap for this year. And again, this is just part of what we're doing here at Dragon Federation, is we're preparing the entire foundation to be able to adapt with the new opportunities that are coming down, instead of being outdated and then you have to buy a whole new console, right? But I mean, you guys already know the pain of this anyway, because it's like somebody's going to showcase it on another device, and you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I have to do it on that one because that one's so much better. But just share that real quick. Let's see. With permanent being element, does the protected zone allow for emergency service to prevent a dragon from dying? Yeah, so that's part of the stabling fee, right? We are looking at I would say an assistant robot or a helper robot. So even when you're not in the experience, it's something that you can use your phone to be able to send instructions to, or to the robot to be able to put food out, deliver, make sure that the food is being fed at the times of deliveries and those types of things. So yes, let's see. Just running through this really quick. Are you going to have other wildlife? Yeah, so there is. I mean, if you already look in the experience, you'll see like birds and stuff flying through, and we definitely do plan on putting like insects and fish and kind of all the stuff in there. But it's the new species of those that are separate from Earth. That's going to take a little bit because we're putting so much energy in the dragons that we're not bothering putting the energy into other creatures just yet. But we do plan on having that. Let's see. Is there new on the roadmap? I'm not sure what that means, United Kingdom, but let's see. What makes some of the dragons and those affected by its angry and hard to tame? Yeah, I didn't see that thread that you responded to, but yeah, so I mean, if you know the lore about some of the dragons in the other areas, again, like they're going to have an objective, right? So tread lightly outside of the world, outside of the protected area before you're ready, because there will be challenges for sure. Is there news bringing when you bring out the roadmap? Is there news when we bring out the roadmap? I don't know. So with the roadmap, I mean, essentially once the project starts to like the way that we're hoping to do this, instead of like a standard website announcement or those types of things, we plan on using the app, both on the phones and in world, right? So like if you have a heads up display, if there's a new area that's going to be unlocked or being built, to even have what looks like construction in the background so that you know that it's on the map, and it kind of has an announcement date, as well as like even like updates. That's just like, because we are looking at a community resource pool to actually, if certain resources are dedicated, to be able to unlock or build other areas of the map. And so we are looking at that because we like the idea of having everybody contribute to it, just because that's what this project is all about anyway. And so we are looking at some things like that. But yeah, so we are right at about time. You know, this is, let's see, we will be able to make it our own bases. That's the goal. That's the goal. House of the Dragons Series 2. Season 2. I haven't seen that yet. I didn't know it was out. Shows you I've been under a rock. But no, like, again, you guys, thanks for showing up. We had a good group here tonight. Again, like, we've been a little quiet. I apologize for that. Thanks for being patient. You know, we're just working through some problems, and because there's plenty of them, but we are moving forward, and we're making some really great progress on some stuff. So we'll keep you guys posted as this stuff continues to roll out. But thank you again. I cannot say this enough. Thank you for supporting this project, because it is your guys' support that is allowing us to get the interest that we're doing, to continue moving forward on this. And so again, thank you. Eggs are still on sale. If you haven't gotten your egg or your dragon or your t-shirt or some of those other things, we can make sure that we can get you accommodated. So thanks again for showing up here tonight, and thanks again for supporting this. Thanks again for supporting this project, and we look forward to talking to you guys again. And so on that, see you in the clouds, right? Have a good one. Thanks, you guys.